Welcome to Session Zero. I'm Josh Strife Hayes, and this is the fourth episode in the saga of the vampiric Lord Valash adventure. Joining me, as always, are our players.
Hello, I am Callum. I am playing the bard Mullac Drab, and I am here to mess things up.
Hi, my name is Rage, and I'm playing a human barbarian called Rage.
Oh, me, hi. Hi, I'm Billie. I'm playing Yemmara Trixx, and we're going to see if we can set fire to some things today. Hopefully the enemy.
The saga has been carrying on for some time, starting off in the port town of Phoenix Nest, traveling across an ocean, being attacked by a giant squid, fighting that back, effectively having a combat landing at Sailor's Rest and fighting through a burned village in pursuit of the vampire warlord Valash. The party's adventure has taken them into the underground tunnels connecting the Church of the Sunrise from the small town of Sailor's Rest, hopefully to the monastery of the Sunrise far to the north. In this episode, they will have to journey through the underground tunnels, caverns, caves, and traps that connect them to the main monastery. Joining them are effectively two NPCs. The rather pompous Sir Francis Pumpernickle III, a fantastic fighter, more than capable of handling his own in a fight and taking down hordes of vampires, and so far, good friend and mentor to you, Rage. How have you found his training and his lessons? He's been taking some more time while you've been journeying into this tunnel, into this cave, just to point out the finer points of fighting with a blunt weapon like a mace or a hammer.
Yeah, he's teaching me to use my strength in ways that I wouldn't usually use my strength. So applying it in a different way.
So normally you would rely on brute force to take down a foe, but he's saying, hey, add a bit of technique into that, see how that helps.
Yeah, he's developed quite a mentor relationship with me, so all my eyes will be fixed on him for the foreseeable future.
Yemmara, there is a priest, Brother Nathaniel, a priest of the Sunrise, who originally went on a pilgrimage to the church in Sailor's Rest, but of course, with that being destroyed, he has decided to complete the pilgrimage at the monastery instead. Knowing that it is likely full of vampires, he has been tagging along with you. He's helped out every now and again, fighting back against the Kraken and finding that he can use his priestly powers aggressively to flash bursts of sunlight from his hands, and doing it for too long burns him and hurts him, but he looks up to you a great deal as a spellcaster. What are you thinking about him, and do you think he can learn much from you?
I put up with him being around because he is useful to me, because he will know where to look for potentially the things that I'm looking for, because this is kind of his monastery in a way. So at the moment, he is useful.
And you will keep him around for as long as he remains useful?
Maybe.
Mullac, you are obviously here for riches and glory, and the closest foil to you, we should say, was the alchemist Mix, who turns out to actually have been working with the vampiric Lord Valash, and you ended up taking down in quite a gruesome way. Now he's out the picture. Are you still going to be looking for treasure, either in this underground mineshaft or in the monastery when you arrive?
Oh, absolutely. I am in this for the guts and glory and the treasure. So I'm hoping to find something down here.
Plus, no one likes losing a fight. And having been thrown around like a rag doll by Valash when Valash was at full strength, are you seeking a bit of revenge as well?
I am definitely out for revenge.
The tunnels that you're all currently in are old smugglers' tunnels, although sometimes used by the clergy and the priesthood themselves to sneak beer, alcohol, wine, any other type of contraband that you're not meant to be having in the priesthood. There are other churches around the area connected via old mine tunnels that all connect up ultimately to the monastery to the north, but they aren't all of the same quality. Some of them are built mine tunnels, some of them are simply chiseled out hollows in the earth, some are very thin, and some are much wider, some of them even opening up into more expansive cave systems. Now, Francis Pumpernickle has been leading the way so far, holding one of the burning torches, kind of glancing around what corners there are and seeing what he can spot. At the minute, there's no danger apart from spider webs on the ceiling and the occasional bumpy floor, although Brother Nathaniel is still incredibly nervous because he knows not only is he scared of the dark, he's not meant to be down here because these are illegal tunnels that the priesthood and the clergy shouldn't ever talk about or shouldn't have, and he's in them. So is he breaking his vows? He doesn't know, and he's worrying about this quite a lot, and he's mumbling to himself about whether this is right, this is what he should do, this is how he should be, and you're all overhearing these mumbles quite a lot.
Look, it's going to be okay. I know you're not meant to be down here, but the church isn't really meant to be in a rubble pile on the floor either, so I think we can excuse it.
I see where you're going with this, but two wrongs don't really improve the day. I wanted to go on the pilgrimage to prove that I was worthy of the priesthood, worthy of the beauty of the sunrise, and I'd heard rumors of all of the tunnels taking the contraband to the places that it shouldn't be, but I didn't want to believe that the organization that I was serving would do that.
Look, I suppose they're more guidelines than rules, and if it's any consolation, you're worthy in our eyes.
That means a lot to me. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I'll try, if I can, to keep you safe, although I can't do much.
Keep doing what you've been doing, and we will be absolutely fine.
While you're talking to him and trying to reassure him, he's actually playing with the little phoenix origami thing because it means a lot to him now, and no one's ever given him a present like that before. So you can see that he's still playing with this, and every time he sees you looking at him, he kind of smiles and then puts it back away because he gets a little bit embarrassed about the fact that he's playing with it. He just wants to be useful to you. Rage, you've been journeying for quite some time now in this underground tunnel. Is this the kind of place you're used to?
Well, I wouldn't say used to. I've never been in a mine shaft, but I've been in like caves and stuff before because like Tanalia, the village I'm from, is very foresty. There's a lot of forests and there's a lot of trees and there's a lot of like little hills, there's a lot of little ruts and stuff like that. So I'm kind of used to it, but not like an actual mine shaft. But not afraid of the dark. So I'm pretty excited.
More than happy to be in the dark.
Yeah.
Excellent. And Yemmara?
The dark is no problem for me as an elf. I can see just about enough to get on by. Almost like I ate my carrots, just like my parents told me to. Anyway, are you okay? Are you okay?
I'm good. Yeah.
I had
Good.
good sleep.
Then we should carry on then.
Yeah.
The journey has been relatively uneventful so far. The mine shaft is mostly straight, with a few twists and turns every now and again, and Francis, popping his head round to check for anything, in fact even turns around and looks at you. I've got to say, chaps, this is a rather dull mine shaft. I kind of expected something. I used to read stories about traps and adventures and just dangerous, and as he says that, he steps back and his foot sinks down into a brick slightly, and he looks back, and just out of the wall, a blade swings into the other wall in a little offset. It swings past with a lovely whooshing sound and almost catches the tip of the torch and almost puts it out as he says it. Almost like that. Things like that. That's what I've read about. My goodness. Snapped on a brick, which is, of course, a button. You know what? The engineering needed to make these kind of traps. Oh, just beautiful. Phenomenal. If I had more time, I would study it myself, but I don't. Right. Mullac.
Yes.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah. No, that sounds great.
Fantastic. Right. Do you see all the traps down there?
No.
Neither do I. That's why I want you to go first.
I don't mind going
appreciate
first.
it.
Well,
If
someone's
you
got
want
to trigger
to.
the traps. Why not?
Okay.
He passes over the flaming torch to you.
Okay. I would like to, for some reason, as a barbarian, I get danger sense, so I can see traps and get advantage on them. So I would just like to run, trigger as many as I physically can.
Roll a d20.
That's a 4. But I could do it again. with
Roll it.
advantage.
Fine.
That's a 2. Oh no!
The confidence.
And
Let's
Harag
try it.
decides, I will work out where the traps are. And so you simply push in front of people and run down. And you run straight down this tunnel. Just straight down this mine shaft into the distance. And we all stand and watch as she runs past. Brother Nathaniel is amazed at the fact you're doing it, super impressed by it. And Francis is like, well, this is either going to go very well or very badly, or somewhere in between. But wherever we end up, we'll take it as a team, won't we? We will deal with this together. And then as he finishes saying together, you make it to the end of the tunnel where the mine shaft opens out into a much bigger cave. And you turn round and you look at all the guys. And as soon as Francis finishes with the word together, hundreds of blades unclick and swing across to the other side and then back. And then spikes shoot up and then spikes shoot down. And then a boulder rolls from one side to the other. And then they all slowly unclick themselves and the tunnel is open again.
Ta-da!
That was impressive, to say the least.
I am not doing that.
One of us might have to, because I'm going to don't think that actually stopped them. That just showed us where they were.
Well, that's better than nothing, I guess.
Excellent. I've got an idea. Francis takes out his mace and just starts poking every brick one at a time on the floor as he goes along until he hits one that sinks down and a spike shoots up from the floor. This is going to take a while, but I believe we can do it.
I'm going to assist him with the rapier, just,
Roll a
feeling my way
Roll a
out.
d20.
11.
You begin to poke at some of the bricks to try and trigger some of the traps along with Francis.
Just going to follow behind, in between them, and step exactly. Is Francis in front?
Yes.
So I'm stepping after him exactly.
You slowly start to work your way, and Brother Nathaniel is following you step for step down this trapped tunnel. Rage, you've managed to run all the way through the tunnel, but you are now pretty much divided from your party. For them to get to you will require a couple of minutes, and for you to get to them would require either a sprint back, which is incredibly dangerous, or you just have a look around the room you're in at the minute.
Yeah, I want to look around. What do I see?
The tunnel opens out into a much larger cave section, and there's bits of sunlight streaming in from holes in the roof, rock formations that are growing up. And as you look around, you realize that the mine cave that you've come from is one of many around this actual cave. It's almost like this is a central hub that connects out to various mine shafts around the place. And you can see across the cave from you is what looks like a much larger ornate carved door with a symbol of a sunrise above it, most likely the door that leads to the monastery itself. But the cave itself is huge and untouched for a long time. Moss is growing on many surfaces, small puddles of water, bones of various creatures you've never seen scattered around the place, and occasionally the odd old rotting wooden box that hasn't been opened in years.
I want to open the box.
Roll a d20.
3.
3.
Yeah. Crush the box.
You walk down into this cave. It begins to echo around you, the sounds of soft dripping water, maybe small kind of trickling streams in the distance, underground lakes and reservoirs. It's soft and mossy and squishy underfoot. And you can see what looks like the carcass of an old ship. Not a big one, but rotten, destroyed, clearly been here for many, many years. Its cargo effectively still intact. There are some old rotten boxes, and then an ornate treasure chest that looks far too clean to really be on this ship. But that's the one that's grabbing your attention.
Does it seem like, does it have any kind of aura or anything, any noise to say that maybe it could be trapped, like magic trapped, if there is like a ring?
Roll a d20.
8. What is with my rolls?
Just seems like a regular treasure chest to you so far. Just
Okay.
made of metal, made of wood.
Okay. I'm gonna look at it and just like, Meh. And then just try and pry it open.
It opens immediately, and you are met with a horrible, huge, lashing tongue and teeth which immediately fall down from the inside of it. Mullac, how's the trap hunting going?
It's going well. Luckily, Francis has found most of the
He's
traps.
triggered several more
Yeah.
spikes, blades, boulders rolling across. So far, nothing has hit you.
No.
But you've triggered a lot of traps, and then you're stepping past them slowly.
Exactly. It's going well. It's going well.
The traps are quite densely packed. Every couple of inches, there's another spike or a blade or a swinging thing. If something was in here, it would get absolutely diced to pieces if it didn't know where
Yeah,
the traps were.
it's a slow process at the
Yeah,
moment.
this is a very, very powerful area. And are you still helping, Yemmara?
Yeah, I'm like just kind of like behind him, and everything that he doesn't poke, I'm then poking a different one.
Moral support.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Moral support to make sure it's all okay.
Yeah.
Nathaniel is, again, just following you very carefully. And Francis is actually quite enjoying this. He's almost kind of like, ha-ha, attacking the wall at the same time and hitting the bricks and be like, you, ruffian, ha-ha, huzzah, as he starts to hit things and trigger the traps off. He just about manages to see through the end of the tunnel to you walking around the corner, opening up a treasure chest and then hearing this horrible slurpy sound and wet slosh of a tongue jumping out at you. As soon as you open it, the chest shakes violently and lurches forward, almost trying to open itself up to its full height and fall onto you in an attempt to bite you.
I scream. And I just turn and I run back to the guys.
Roll a d20.
It's a 6.
You turn and you run back. And as you run, 1 foot leaves the ground. It bolts forward. The chest flops down onto its effectively open mouth now, and one of the teeth from the top of the actual chest itself shears directly into the back of your shin, cutting down the inside of your leg, and you feel the tooth digging into your muscle. And as you pull forward, it's sunk so deeply that you can't pull away from it. And it's propped itself up effectively on your leg now. As it begins to try and close itself again, its bottom half effectively eating into the floor while it tries to bite your leg.
Help! Help! A box is trying to eat me! Help! Help!
Can we run over?
You're in the middle of a trapped hallway, so you can try if you want to. It's probably going to take you another 2 or 3 minutes.
It's got teeth!
You hear shouts of help. What are you going to do?
Can I? I'm just gonna.
Help!
How high can you jump?
About average height.
Okay, good. Jump.
I jump.
As he jumps, I'm gonna mind thrust him down.
Like a missile.
Didn't consent to this, but
I'm gonna missile Mullac.
yeah.
Him down.
Roll a
the rest
d20,
of
please.
The way. 18.
Roll a d20, please.
Please don't be an 11. It's a 6.
It's not an 11.
The jump is fantastic. The push is perfect. You jump, you almost know what's about to happen, so you make a human arrow out of yourself, by almost flattening yourself in the air, your head first, and you're ready. And as soon as you are horizontal, you felt yourself pushed and projected out of the hallway. Rage, you turn around to look back toward the mineshaft you come from, and all you see is a perfectly horizontal Mullac just shoot out of it at quite the rate. Thankfully, you crash into a very moss-lichen-covered soft wall. There's a lovely squidge as some moisture shoots off it, and you land pretty much on your feet. Scraped a little bit,
Yeah.
but pretty much on your feet.
Good. I want to rush over and help Rage with the chest situation.
You run over and you see that Rage is being eaten by a large, sentient treasure chest.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask questions. I'm just
Help!
I stab it straight in the tongue.
Roll a d20.
14.
You'd have to almost kneel down and stab almost up into it, as when the treasure chest opened, it then fell forward and latched its teeth in. So shown to the top, effectively, is the base of the chest, the base of the actual lid itself, and the sides. So you'd need to get close to the ground and almost stab upwards into it.
Yeah, I try to just reach under and stab her.
The stab is impressive, and you hear this horrible, almost like a wooden shriek, like a creak of boards, all happening at the same time, as the whole thing almost bends inward on itself, having felt pain, and it doesn't let you go, but it starts to bounce around a bit more. It's not focused on you. The tooth is dug quite deeply into the back of your leg. What would you like to do?
I would like to. I think. Like pry it back open, so it like like a bear trap, kind of like the opposite, and just kind of like.
Roll the d20.
Yeah. 12.
You manage to lift it open, but as you lift it open, it almost snaps towards you again and pushes at you one more time, and now you've got your arm effectively in the crook of its mouth, with one part here kind of pushing away from it, if you will, and the other part almost chomping onto your hips now. You've lifted it up, and it's still trying to close on you. Thankfully, Mullac is still just stabbing it repeatedly with a rapier, and it is slowly weakening its grip. While that's happening, Yemmara. Francis has finally gone through all the traps.
At the end now?
He steps at the end. Huzzah! No more traps! My goodness! A volatile treasure chest! What a great fight!
Okay.
He begins to run towards you with his mace up.
Okay, I'm gonna just run straight to. So, what was the last thing that it did to you? So it's still on your, and you're trying to pry it open.
My hand is above on his mouth, and I'm kind of like this part is in its mouth.
Okay.
But it's still on my foot.
I am.
It's more up onto your hip now. It's not
Okay,
that
so it's
big.
here. It's chomping. Like basically,
Okay.
This is inside it.
I'm gonna go behind it and try and help her and grab it from the other side and like try and pull
Pry it off.
pull it off her.
Okay, roll a d20.
2.
2.
Can you even roll it?
You grab and you pull back. Unfortunately, because it has been on the floor for so long and you're effectively grabbing the base of this thing, it is covered in moss and goo and lichen, and you end up just slipping off with your grip. You can't get a good grip onto the base of it, and it
Okay.
is still just bouncing around on you. As soon as that happens, you feel a massive smash on the side of it as Francis hits it with his mace, splintering some of the wood in, which almost instantly fixes itself.
Oh. What does the inside of his mouth look like?
Goo, flesh, charred and charnel bone creaking inside. It's almost like a huge fleshy blob lives inside this treasure chest, has molded itself to it, and its bone structure is connected to the inside of the
Ooh,
treasure
so you
chest
can see the fleshy
itself.
google thing?
You can see the fleshy goo, and you can see the bones, and you can see the tongue coming out, and you can see what looks like possibly a very small throat going to a stomach inside of it.
I would like to blast my hand inside it, grab the glooby gloob, and squish it and pull it out.
You want to almost stick your hand down this thing's throat and pull out whatever's
I
inside.
want to throat punch it.
Okay. Roll a d20.
It's a 3.
There goes your hand.
That's a 3.
Yeah.
You punch inside. You grab whatever and you pull out. You look at your hand. You are holding a handful of stomach acid, which begins to burn through your skin quite painfully. Please take 1d4 damage.
Oh, God.
Please note down how much damage you've taken. You simply have to shake it off your hand. There was nothing in its stomach apart from pain. Mullac.
Yeah, after seeing the attempt that was brilliantly made, should I say it, I take the vial, pop the pin, and just throw it straight down the throat.
The thing is still attempting to eat Rage, so even if it does explode, Rage is likely going to be in the vicinity. You throw this vial down perfectly, and now you have a second or two to get away and probably warn other people of that as well.
I run away.
Okay.
While yelling, "Run away!"
I don't do anything.
Nathaniel hears you and decides that running away is probably a good idea, but also realizes that you might be in danger and he might be able to help. So, against his better judgment, he almost charges forward and just starts hitting the treasure chest on the side with his hand. It's hurting his knuckles quite a lot because he's not very strong at all, but he's just hitting it, hoping that it lets go of you.
I am, I can just shake. I don't know. I'm panicking now.
You're panicking and just shaking.
Yeah.
And as you are panicking and shaking, you feel a hand grab both of your shoulders and pull. And it's Francis, just looking at you. And for some reason, when he stares at you, the world seems to slow down and stop. He simply looks at you. He looks at the chest, looks back at you. It's connected to you by one tooth. Push away from that, and then throw it away. And then he steps away, and the world seems to come back into focus.
What tooth?
There's one tooth effectively just lodged into your arm now. You effectively grab the tooth that's connected to the actual thing, and you pull it out of you. It's not connected, but you've got hold of its tooth, which is still connected to the rim of the actual chest itself.
I slam the tooth on the floor. So it just goes.
Okay. Roll a d20.
13.
You slam it into the floor, effectively open. The treasure chest has opened up, and you've slammed it that way onto the floor. So what you can see now is the bottom of the chest facing the ceiling, and the top of the lid facing the ceiling. It's fully open and slammed in. And as soon as you do that, you almost feel an explosion inside of a... It pushes itself up quite a bit. And after that's happened, red goo begins to seep out from underneath it as it's not a watertight seal on the floor. Whatever you stuck into it was explosive as heck, blew it up from inside, and you pushed the explosion onto the floor. Perfect. Yemmara, how are you feeling having watched all this?
Is there anything else that's coming out of the box?
Not right now.
Okay. I wanted other things than goo. Okay, I'm just gonna. What can I see further on in this open space?
This open space is absolutely huge. You've got, again, lichen, moss, walls, various levels and walkways chiseled into the rock above you. Clearly a storage room or some kind of central meeting place used many, many years ago by wherever all of these tunnels converge to. There's not that many more wooden boxes around that look interesting at all, but there's lots of bones from creatures much larger than you've ever encountered before. There's a couple of rock formations that look a little bit strange, and then there's a trail of dried blood effectively dragged from the vast majority of these mine shafts, all converging into the larger central door with the sunrise logo above it, going down into the distance.
And how fresh is that blood? Like,
Depends on the actual mine shaft itself. Some of them much more fresh. The one that you've come out of, still red, still dripping.
Okay. It's time to move on. There's a door up here. I think we should carry on going through it.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good plan.
I'm not going back through those.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the most fun. I'm not gonna lie.
How did you know about the tooth?
He turns to look at Francis. That was quite simple. Just looked at where you were bitten. You were bleeding from one part on your arm. Thing's got a lot of teeth. I mean, your arm is that thick. The tooth is roughly that thick. So you're only going to be bitten by at least one tooth. Sometimes if you just slow things down and consider the physics of the situation you're in, you can work out the best way to fight without panicking, without using strength. If something is stronger or more dangerous than you, that's okay, because it's not as smart as you.
The world slowing down, was that a figure of speech, or was that like physically I felt the world slow down when he gave me that information?
That was a figure of speech that he had your entire attention. It didn't physically slow down.
Okay.
You just suddenly had only one thing to focus on, and all the information went into your brain.
Oh, got you. Okay. Focus, smart, calm, good decisions. Got it. Ow.
Mullac, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. That was one hell of an explosion.
Nathaniel simply walks towards you. Did you just kill a box?
Yeah, it's a weird thing to think about because it shouldn't be alive in the first place. But yes, I did just kill a box.
Very impressive. Well, I mean, the traps were impressive, and then this was impressive, and there's the bombs, and there's all that, and it's very overwhelming. But I'm very happy to be here. Right. So that symbol, he points to the one above the door, is definitely the symbol of the sunrise. This is definitely the right way to the monastery. But I don't understand why there are so many other places connected to it. Probably other churches. But I don't know what this room would have been used for, because there was only one thing that almost all of the... He simply steps back and starts to look around the room a lot more. And then, in almost a daze, starts to run off and pick up some of the bones by himself and start to look at them.
What are you doing?
These are dragon bones. There aren't many left anywhere, but the monasteries are meant to have collections of them, but they never showed them off to anyone. Dragons have been extinct in these areas for absolutely years, but we were always told that one of the reasons that the sunrise was so powerful is dragons would come out to greet it. And that's where this all started. I don't know what color dragons these were, but these are them. He starts to run around even more and pick up some stuff, amazed that he's finally found the heritage of part of the religion that he works with.
I run over to the bones and start just looking at them and touching them and like trying to kind of like familiarize myself with how they're built.
Roll the d20.
17.
You spend some time working out exactly how a dragon would have been constructed from these bones. What's especially interesting to you is some of the bone structure around the face, the throat, and the neck, anywhere where flames or magic of any kind would have been produced. And you start to build a mental image in your own head of how magical energy could have been stored within a physical container made of bone, because normally it's very, very difficult to do that. Mm-hmm. You can't find any skin or scales, unfortunately. But these are definitely old dragon bones. Rage.
I'd like to go and see the bones. I'd like to go and touch the bones.
Roll the d20.
8.
They're bones, definitely. Pretty big, pretty brittle.
Are there any tiny ones?
There are some small ones. You can't work out whether they are teeth or bone fragments or shards.
I'd like to take any sharp-looking ones, like a handful of them, start collecting them just in a little pile, and I'm like really proud of it.
You managed to pick a few of them up. You have them in a little handful, and you've got them now. While that's happening, Mullac.
Yeah, I just stroll over to these, another bone pile separate from the ones they're looking through, and just start tossing them over my shoulder and just like rummaging through and trying to find anything that's not dragon bone.
Roll a d20.
15.
Bone, 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 bone. And then a bone with something stabbing into it. And this is interesting because dragon bone is incredibly dense. So the fact you found a small, dull, almost emerald-colored point of what effectively is an arrowhead sticking into this bone. You have no idea what bow would have fired it, but it is clearly sharp enough to go through dragon scale into dragon bone. It's remarkably rare to find something that sharp. It looks like it's almost been chiseled by hand, and there's a slight green glow to it when you hold it up to a light.
Nice, I'm turning that into a necklace when we get back.
As you are looking through, Brother Nathaniel is walking around picking things up, and even Francis has started looking at the amazing things on the floor and picking stuff up. And as you are exploring, you hear a voice from the door with the sunrise symbol above it. It's a very calm, very simple. They're impressive, aren't they?
Who's that?
You turn and look, and it's Valash standing in the doorway again, waiting for you. It wasn't difficult to work out. You weren't going to assault from overground. The tunnels aren't secret. I'm not heartless, and also I can't be bothered to do this myself. So, what ate them can eat you. Have a good day. I've got my dinner that I took earlier to finish. Right. Toodlepip. He turns around and walks back off through the door. And as he walks through the door, the room shakes. The whole area begins to thudder with something. You don't know what, but it shakes again.
That doesn't sound good.
We need to go through that door. We need to get out of here. There's other mine shafts that we can go down?
Lots of other ones.
Okay. Should we dart down another one?
Pick one.
Is there are there any
As
signs?
you're deciding which one to pick, the shuddering continues, and then out of one of the mine shafts, which is slightly larger than the rest, you see hundreds of tiny feet connected to an extremely long armored body as a giant millipede, at least 2 meters in height, creeps out, skittering across the floor, almost up and around the edge, along the ceiling on top of you, around and then into another mine shaft and down. This thing is at least 60 or 70 meters long, in and around quick, with huge pincing mandibles on the front of it, and as it goes past, it picks up one of the dragon bones and just chomps it as it scutters straight into another mine shaft.
Nope, I don't like bugs.
Yeah, no.
That was so cool.
Let's
No?
go.
Nathaniel is simply standing there worried about what he's going to do, kind of holding both his hands up and almost making them glow preemptively to see if he can burn something. And even Francis is standing there with his buckler and his mace, looking around ready. I've got to say, chaps, that was a pretty big bug. I don't think I can squash that all by myself, and I definitely don't want to be on the business end of those mandibles.
Nathaniel, there's got to be another way in. We can't just go this way.
No, the monasteries were very well protected. There was one way in and there was one way out, and I don't know where those other mine shafts go, and I just know that if we have to go into the monastery, we have to go that way, but I don't want to go to Valash, because we can't beat Valash. We can't beat him the way this goes without activating everything in the monastery, and he knows we're here, he knows we're here, he knows we're here, he knows we're here. Nathaniel is having a little bit of a breakdown right now as the rumbling continues, and then out of another mine shaft, likely the same massive, huge millipede, barrels out, hasn't noticed you yet, scutters across the floor, up to the ceiling, and then through one of the tunnels far above you. It seems to be able to quite easily walk around this entire room and across, and it is moving remarkably fast. As it does, Francis again follows it, swinging his mace around, trying to look for whatever weak spot he can find.
While this is happening, I know that everyone's like focused on trying to actually leave, but I think this thing is so cool because I've seen like small versions of these at home and I play with them a lot, and like other ones that don't have legs and ones that have like shells and stuff, and I think that's so cool. So I kind of just want to sit down and get cozy and then just attempt to commune with the beast.
With the giant millipede.
Yes.
Roll a d20.
18.
You try and focus and realize what this millipede wants. It's not evil. It's not evil. It's not even aware of Valash. It doesn't know or care who Valash is. It's been in these tunnels way before he got here. It will probably be in them way after he got here. And through trying to figure out what it's eating, you can tell that it definitely didn't eat whatever was in this cave before. Whether it was a dragon or not, it hasn't eaten it. In fact, it's pretty bloody hungry right now, which is why it's trying to find some food, but unfortunately, most of what it did eat down here, larger creatures if it were, there's none left. And it's finding it very hard to feed on the surface, because whenever the vampiric horde has swept over the land, it has taken all the livestock with it, it has taken all of the larger boars and sheep and horses, and pigs and anything it may have eaten, and has effectively tainted them with vampiric badness, effectively.
I'd like to convince the millipede that the most scrumptious treat that it could ever have is vampires, and we know exactly where to find them.
Roll a d20.
Oh, that's a 21. 12.
It isn't
Go.
talking to you directly, but it is understanding. And as it barrels back through the room, it almost stops for a second and turns its head to look directly at you, champs its mandibles together, and then runs off. It's kind of saying, they're not, I tried, they're disgusting. But it's very quickly realized that you guys probably aren't food, and so is not too bothered about eating you anymore.
I'd like to tell it that vampires may be disgusting, but if we get rid of them, the tasty nom-noms come back.
Roll a d20.
18.
It will consider your proposal. Mullac, you've effectively just seen Rage sit down in the middle, think really hard, and then a massive millipede scurry past, look at her, and then scurry off again.
Yeah, no, I've got no idea what's going on down here.
I'll explain another time.
Yeah, now's not
but-
really the
okay.
time, yeah. So, are there any caves that it hasn't been, like, snaking in and out of that are...
No, it's pretty much going everywhere.
Oh, cool.
The only one it hasn't gone down is the actual path of the sunrise itself.
I still think we should go that way. Like, it's gotta be done.
That's the last place you saw Valash head down. Valash is arrogant. He is powerful. He doesn't just want to win. He wants you to know that he's won. He wants to be seen being powerful. He's actually one of the younger vampire lords. He still wants respect from the general kind of vampiric council, if you will, which is why he's taken the ironic choice of building a fortress inside an ex-prison and making sure that you see him before you get eaten. It's all about image to this guy.
Yeah.
And so he thinks you're dead already. He doesn't think that he could ever underestimate anybody. So if you're willing to go down the mine shaft and effectively walk toward the monastery, you can do that.
I think we should. If he potentially thinks we're dead, we've got a good chance to ambush him.
You should, you could just pretend like you're, like, gonna learn things from him, and then, like, he's won, and then me and Mr. Millipede come in and just...
If he sees us alive, he's going to kill us.
Yeah, but then
Yeah.
that's when we sweep in.
Well, it's no good if we're dead.
Hopefully we'll get to that.
I'm not relying on hopefully with this one. You coming with us?
Francis walks up to you. What was that with the big scuttly bugly thing?
Oh, does Mr. Millipede?
Is that what it's called? Okay.
Well, yeah, I don't actually get his proper name, but yeah, I'm calling him Mr. Millipede.
All right. Seems like a lovely chap to me.
He is
Why
good.
are we not eaten?
Oh, he doesn't want us.
Oh, terrific.
No.
I also don't want to eat people, so me and have something in common.
He's very hungry, though.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, so, like, the vampires keep eating the horses and the cows and the pigs and the sheep.
Oh, they're taking the natural order's food away from them, which means everything else is really annoyed at them. I see. Huzzah! Fantastic. He's on our side,
Yeah.
even if he is a bit big and scaly and weird.
But I think we could use him. Like, what if we rode him around the castle to do other things?
I am not touching a bug. I'm not getting on a bug. I'm not going anywhere near a bug. Every time the bug has come towards me, I've ran the complete opposite direction, and screaming away.
Tour guide millipede.
But he probably knows the area and he can get away around really, really quick.
True,
door's
but
there.
The door's there.
You past the door, there's more things.
You can come. Okay, the millipede can come with us.
Yes!
No.
It's the only way we're going to get her up through that door.
True.
And Francis walks up. While I'm sure your buggerly friend is definitely going to help us at some point in the future, probably not the best way to keep the element of surprise that we seem to have, at least for now. So a small stealthy incursion, and then when the element of surprise is used up, a big bugly attack afterwards.
Okay.
It's
like
a plan then.
Nathaniel walks forward and goes, what's happening with the bug?
We'll call on him later.
Okay, fantastic.
My last thing before the ritual fades, I just want to say to the millipede, if you would consider helping us, we'd really appreciate it. And when I say, Mr. Millie, come find me, that's when you come find me, okay?
You know the millipede has heard you, but you don't hear or feel any response. But you
I feel
know
it in
they've
my
heard you.
heart.
There's very little else in this cave system specifically. You've already found the mimic, and you've already found the treasure chest that
Yes.
was effectively using to stab the dragon bones, and you feel a strong connection to this area, even though you don't know exactly what the dragons were. The millipede might be back in the future, but for now he's burrowing off into a tunnel somewhere, and Valash thinks you are dead. So you can walk down the tunnel leading toward the monastery with impunity if you want to.
Does the door just open?
It's already been open. It's
Oh,
effectively
okay.
a huge stone area that just carries on down.
Okay, good.
I think we go onwards.
Is the door trapped?
Roll a d20.
8.
No.
Is it all
Okay.
trapped?
No.
Door trapped?
No, you simply manage to walk in and everything is fine. Leaving the absolute giant cave and walking down the tunnel, it slowly starts to enclose upon itself until you feel that you're walking in effectively a castle tunnel. There are more torches on the walls this time. And as you walk past rows of heavy oaken wooden doors with bolts and beams on the front of them, you can't help but hear heavy, laboured breathing behind each door.
I swear if it's more millipedes.
Can I look under the door frame?
Roll a d20.
13.
You can just about lean down and look under the door. You recognize the clothes from villagers that you saw earlier. Panting, not dead yet, but on the verge of death, bleeding absolutely everywhere. The doors all seem to contain the same thing. Groups of people. These aren't prisons, these are food stocks.
Snacks. Human snacks.
There's people in there.
Yeah.
How many doors are there?
There are 4 on each side of the tunnel that you are currently in, for a total of 8, but the tunnel then does curve sharply and you can't see what's around the corner. Everyone in the doors that you look under or even through the gaps in them is very close to death. These are clearly not high-valued prisoners, but can still be used to feed vampires.
We're not going to be able to do anything for them. If
No.
we let them out, we haven't got any... Not to put down your power, Mullac, but I don't think you're going to be able to heal all these people in time.
I'd be lucky if I healed 1 or 2, and then it's the question of who do you heal and is it fair?
It's going to be hard. We're going to have to leave them.
As you are discussing what to do, you hear footsteps coming from around the corner that you can't see. And around the corner walks one of the winged vampires from earlier, except this one is extremely weak, panting with every step, almost struggling to walk forward. It looks up and doesn't even see you standing at the end of the corridor and just continues to take a step forward every now and again, and another laboured step, but it doesn't seem injured. Francois pulls you all back and goes, that's not hurt. That's not hurt, but it's hurt, if you know what I mean.
I think it's hungry.
No, hunger lasts for months with these things. That's pain caused by something else.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Get it.
What could be causing it pain, though?
Let's find out.
Nathaniel,
Yes?
do you know anything about... Look at him.
I mean, that's pain. That's definitely pain, and that's exactly the kind of pain that all the traps would cause. They're deactivated, obviously. The monastery is completely inert.
Well-
but it's got residual. There's water, there's pipes, there's sigils, there's noise. We can't hear the bells, but if one were to ring, that's what it would do. I saw you do it earlier with the flute.
Yeah.
That's small things, little things. There's no individual thing that kills a vampire, but small things add up, and they weaken, and they weaken, and they weaken, and they weaken, and when they are weak enough, you can kill them. That's what happens when they live somewhere that weakens them.
Where's the bell tower?
Very, very top of the entire monastery. One way up and one way down.
Okay.
The millipede.
I don't see what the millipede has to do with this.
It can climb.
Oh. Oh, that's a genius.
Francis
one.
looks over. I say, huzzah! Indeed. It's huzzah. With a za.
Huzzah.
There we go! Huzzah!
Got it.
Oh, hurrah. Oh, sorry.
He doesn't know we're alive yet. Maybe don't shout huzzah.
As we're talking about all that, the vampire kind of looks up at you and then stumbles back and almost attempts to put up a fighting stance. Clearly, living in this monastery is weakening to the already weak vampires, but does not affect Valash at all.
Can I go over and say hello?
To the vampire?
Yeah.
Yeah. Try. Roll a d20.
You're just full of great decisions.
Just checking my charisma. That's all. It's a natural 20.
It's a natural 20.
Yeah. With all the charm and childish love and charisma.
You
Hello.
walk over and you say hello. The vampire doesn't immediately swing for you, but is instead just staring at you. It doesn't recognize you, but it also can't see quite well enough to work out what or who you are, and it can't smell well enough down here in these catacombs, surrounded by so much running water. It's not entirely sure whether it should or shouldn't be attacking you, but it doesn't yet consider you a friend at all.
I'd like to put my hand on like his face, kind of like here, and just to calm him and just say, "It's okay. Not all of us are foes."
As soon as you do that, it recoils, realizing what you are, and instead of attacking you, just turns around and starts to stumble back off the corridor from where it's come from.
Kill it, kill it, kill it.
Wait,
Don't let it get away.
wait, stop.
It ignores your shouts.
I'm going to send a firebolt at it.
Roll a
to stop
d20.
it. I don't want it to go back and report that we're alive. 2.
2. Mullac, you see that Yemmara is very quickly preparing a fireball to send down a very small corridor.
I'm going to inspire her.
How?
Quick blast on the float. A little.
Maybe don't do it in front of the actual mics.
A little.
How inspired are you right now, Yemmara?
Do you know what? That tune was just beautiful.
And amazingly, that note, that exact note, caused the vampire to flinch slightly as soon as it was walking
Perfect.
down. And as it's flinching, you can get a better aim and a better shot off.
Doing the breathe out thing.
Roll again. Let's give you inspiration for it.
It was a 7.
Can I dodge?
Can you dodge? You are still focused right now on trying to communicate with this vampire and be a lovely, lovely young person. Do you wish to roll the d20 again, as you have been inspired?
That was my second roll. That was a 7.
Excellent. The fireball flies down the corridor and bursts at the feet of this vampire, covering most of the wall in it. And it's loud. It is remarkably loud. It almost knocks the building around. It almost moves the corridor as it is. And then you start to hear footsteps again. You start to hear lots of footsteps. And then standing in front of you, a tall figure with black beady eyes and a red cape. Oh, I'm very impressed. I'm very impressed. But this is rather annoying right now. So I don't want that priest around. And as soon as he says that, Valash has moved super quickly in front of Nathaniel, grabbed him by the chest, and thrown him straight through the air, back down the corridor, almost into the cave that you've just come out of. And you can just hear a distant yelp of pain as he crashes into the floor. Mullac.
What's around us?
Right now, you are in a corridor with 4 doors either side of you, leading to the very small rooms that are effectively once were prisons, but now are being used to store humans for the vampires to eat. Valash has come down to check out what the hell the fireball explosion was all about, and if you were to go back down the corridor that you've just been in, you would enter into the huge cave area as well, with the millipede and right now the very hurt brother Nathaniel.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now that I know the magical note, I want to blast out a quick D sharp.
Play it again.
And,
Roll a d20.
God. That's 14.
As soon as the note happens, you see that Valash does flinch slightly. He didn't flinch much before. Clearly existing within this monastery just to prove a point that he can is weakening him beyond the amount he would admit. And that flinch, it's only momentary, but a moment is all you need. What are you doing with it?
Is there copper piping anywhere?
There's copper piping all around you, but you don't know where within the walls,
Oh, right. So it's in the wall somewhere.
effectively.
I would like to smash my hammer on the wall somewhere.
Effectively right above you.
Yeah.
Roll a d20.
20. I'm serious.
Describe how you would hit the wall at the ceiling above you.
I would just sort of like have my hammer like braced and then kind of like take a giant step forward. And as I step forward, I want to lodge the top of the hammer up to the ceiling and kind of drag it a good like 2 meters so that I have a clear space to see what is up there.
You smash the hammer into the ceiling and you drag it down. And as you do, you almost rip some of the rock out with it. It's one heck of a hit, serious amount of force behind it, but also focused enough to know where you want to cut and where you need to cut. And as you smash some rock away, you hear almost a metallic scrape as your hammerhead scrapes on a metal pipe. And as it scrapes away, you almost burst part of it, and water begins to spray out of this pipe itself. Valash turns around to see what's going on, and the next thing he knows, after flinching, is he is hit in the face with a splash of water from a copper pipe, which almost knocks him back a feet or two as he has to wipe it off his face, and you see his skin almost begin to smoke. While this is happening, Francis realizes it might be his only chance, so runs forward, pulls his mace back, and simply smiles and goes, "Tally-ho," before cracking it as hard as he can on Valash's shoulder, which does knock him back even more and force him to stumble onto one knee.
I'm going to run. I don't like the guy, but I'm going to go and try and help him and see if I can see where he is. Is he on the floor? So he's in the cave previously.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go and run up to him and put my hand out begrudgingly and let him hold on to me to pick himself up again if he can.
Brother Nathaniel grabs your hand and manages to pull himself up and start to stumble around. He goes, "Yeah, I'm very sorry I'm being a burden on this journey. I've been getting quite a lot of pain recently, and I didn't realise quite how easy it was to throw somebody around. So I'll promise I'll try my best to not be thrown from pillar to post every now and again."
Yes, well, pull yourself together. It's not over there. Come on, we have to go again.
He stumbles along with you. Are you going to dump back down the corridor?
Yeah, it's not too quickly, though. Hopefully they will have time to take care of him before we get back, because I don't want Nathaniel to die.
You stumble effectively back down the corridor itself, and as you stumble down the corridor, you see Valash on one knee, wiping water away from his face, massaging a bruise on his shoulder. He's hurt, but not badly. So he simply stands up and tries to shake all of this pain off him and try and re-establish his surroundings and work out what's going on. Mullac.
So where the pipes burst, is it
Directly above you in a corridor. You're almost in a square corridor facing down.
Yeah.
The pipe runs down the length of the corridor. The ceiling has been cracked open. It's fallen down very slightly and water is spraying out of it.
Cool. So it's like basically raining on him.
It's spraying forward in a cone and then dripping, and he got sprayed in the face and then stepped away from it.
Okay.
It's not enough to kill him.
I would like to take my emerald dagger, arrow tip, jump up above him and try and pierce the pipe right above him, so that it, in an attempt to stall him more.
Roll a d20.
Ooh, like to trap him.
Yeah.
Ah.
2.
You leap up and you stab the emerald arrow tip directly into a copper pipe, which plugs the hole it's made. And then you let go of it and fall to the floor and just look up at the emerald arrow tip, now lodged in a pipe.
Looks great.
Valash is confused about what you attempted to achieve by that, but is still simply staring at you. He's almost managed to fully regain himself and work out what's going on, but you are walking up behind him now this time, because you've gone back to the cave, and you will be walking effectively behind him.
Okay. I'm gonna... This isn't very nice. I'm basically gonna push Nathaniel, encourage him to use his magic. Like, this is your time. He's not looking, but like I'm like whispering it to him. You want to be useful. Well, now's your time to do it. And I'm just gonna kind of push him forward, and hopefully he'll like realize what he needs to do.
You push Nathaniel forwards. He sees Valash in front of him, and finding a new sense of vigor, simply runs up behind him, holds his hand up, pulls as much energy from the sun as he can into it until his hand is glowing white, and then just smacks him from behind the head as hard as he can, which doesn't knock Valash to the side, but does stumble him slightly, not into the wall, but he knocks him slightly. And Valash is stunned when he turns around and sees this small shaking priest standing there, having just hit him from behind the head.
While Callum is, when he decided to plug the hole, did that plug my hole that I made?
No, you have
Okay,
actually
cool.
destroyed the the pipe and it's broken it down.
The pipe, how malleable is it?
It's just basic copper.
If I were to jump up
Yep.
and grab it,
Yep.
like a freaking fireman, and kind of just,
Like snap it.
yeah, like kind of like bend it and just kind of aim it.
Hose him down.
Try if you want to.
Okay,
Roll the d20.
That's fun.
an 18.
You leap up and you only actually need one hand to grab it and then pull slightly as you land on the floor. And it does bend with you, and you are able almost to put your thumb over the end of it and spray it effectively as a hose if you need to.
Nice.
You spray it at Valash, and this isn't hurting him, but it's extremely irritating to him, especially as he's just been slapped by a priest. And he's now got water spraying into his eyes again, and he's got that note ringing in his ears from one more time. And there's a lot of stuff overwhelming him right now, but he is very close to completely reorienting himself and attacking all of you. But he is stunned for maybe the next 10 seconds, but you don't yet have a weapon capable of killing him. What are you going to do?
What could we do?
I'm going to ask Nathaniel again to repeat.
The list of effective
Yeah, essentially.
weapons.
So, like, we know where the bell is. Where is everything else? Just turn everything back on again.
Everything. You need everything at the same time. It's a prison. It doesn't necessarily kill. It's a prison. It traps. We need to get him, if we're going to use this whole thing, and I'm not even sure if it works anymore, but we need to get the whole thing into the central room. If we get him into the central room, we can have sunlight, we can have sound, we can have water, we can have everything else we need. We just need him in the central room.
Okay, let's go then. And I just start running.
Sprinting down the corridor away from the cave.
Yeah, just going to lure
effectively
him in
toward
there.
the monastery. Past Valash while he's still trying to work out what the hell's going on.
And
after
I'm
all
going to
this
say
stuff.
to him as I run past, so you think you're powerful? Well, come on then. And I'm just going to run past him.
Oh, he hears you and he absolutely hates that. Absolutely hates the entire idea. Rage, you see that Yemmara and Nathaniel have sprinted past using the random disoriented Valash's status to their benefit and ran past.
Cool. I'm just gonna do like one last couple of spurts on his back. I'm just like.
It's not pushing him back not pushing him back anymore. He's just annoyed now that
I
he can
know.
spray with water.
Oh, okay. And then just like drop what I'm doing, and then like follow
You
everyone
turn and
else.
sprint along with them as well.
I'm running down the corridor, do a jump, take my my arrowhead with me. That's
You
my,
do manage to grab it and pull it with you, even though it's not done anything this time,
No.
unfortunately.
It's gonna just be jewelry at this point.
And running behind you is Francis, sprinting along. Oh, I've got to say, old chap, not a good idea to anger a vampiric lord and then run past him. Very likely we're all going to die on this one.
I agree. Let's keep going.
Huzzah!
Huzzah,
Runs
indeed.
along with you. You sprint down the corridor, away from the large open cave, leaving Valash stumbling and rubbing his eyes still. Water, copper pipes, symbols, sigils, noise, and sunlight. You need all of them, but you haven't yet got any of them to the extent that you need them. You haven't yet got enough of any one of them. But the monastery was built as a prison, not necessarily an execution block. You may be able to reactivate parts of it to help, but it's very, very old. It's crumbling. It's in disrepair. The library is not very well stocked. The sunlight amplifying windows simply might not be enough. The bell might not ring as well anymore. But you run down the corridor, and eventually the corridor turns into a much more ornate corridor with a spiral staircase going up. Do you run up it?
I hate stairs, but let's do it.
You
I just
sprint up.
sprint up.
Are you following him as well?
No, I'm not going to run up the staircase because I'm assuming that that's where the bell tower is.
This is the only staircase from the underground corridor that you're in that would effectively take you to the first ground floor
Right. Okay.
of
then,
the
yeah,
monastery
that's fine
itself.
Then. Okay. Yes, I'm going that way.
You run up as well, and you're joining them.
Mhm.
Emerging from the top of the spiral staircase, you are in a much more grand, ornate room. There's dust and cobwebs, but there are still bookshelves around the place. There are still tables, marble statues, granite worktops. It's nice. It's just not very well kept. And a lot of the tapestries that were hanging have since been ripped down. This is the monastery itself to the north, the monastery of the sunrise. As soon as Brother Nathaniel walks up, he's almost in awe, looking around, seeing what there is. He needs to be focusing on what he should be doing, but he's just absolutely distracted by the beauty of the single room that you're in. Francis quickly joins you up and goes, right, huzzah! Well, he's probably going to be following quite fast, but as we know, he can run very quickly, so I think we should go in random directions, probably all of us in one direction. What say you?
Water bell sigils? What's a bell sigils? What's the others?
Sound.
Sound. That's it?
This is great, but let's get out of this room right now.
Yes,
Wait,
run.
where's the nearest door?
Francis sprints toward the nearest door, cracks his mace onto it to knock it open, and then turns around and motions for all of you to get out. Right, I'd go through here. Don't know what's through there. Off we go.
Go, go, go.
I listen to him and I sprint through that door.
You sprint through the door.
Yeah.
The door hasn't been broken. It's simply been opened by him smashing it with the mace and flinging it open.
I'll charge through as well.
You charge through as well?
How many other doors are there?
There's about 3 in the room.
Okay. Would I be able to tell where the other doors go to just
Nope.
by the look of them?
And you are
They
running
look
out of time
different?
to choose.
Okay, I'll just go through the same door then.
You sprint through the same one, and Nathaniel, are you dragging him with you?
Oh, yeah.
I assume you've just got hold of his hood and you're just
Yeah,
dragging
got
him
his
with
hood
you as well.
again. Just the standard.
You all run through the door, and Francis follows until he doesn't. And suddenly he is pulled back into the room that you came out from. Valash is standing in the room, panting from having to move after being hurt so much, just able to get a hand onto the back of Francis's armor and drag him back into the room. He turns around, and Valash focuses on you and takes a step toward the door you've just been through, and as he does, the head of a mace comes down the side and cracks into the side of his arm, knocking him against the door. As he's knocked against the door, you see Francis place his hands on Valash and throw him as hard as he could, which is not very far, back into the room you've just come out of. He turns and looks at all of you. Right, tally-ho, lads. I'd run if I were you. I'll give you as much time as I can. He pulls the door shut, and then you hear the sound of a bookcase being slid back across to make sure that Valash, for the time being, cannot come through it, provided that Francis is there to keep him busy for a while. But he hasn't got long.
Okay, start running.
You run into the monastery. You have to reactivate all of the defenses and find a way to get Valash into where you need him to be in time to save Francis. But can you? We'll find out on the next episode.
God damn it.